In this video, I'm going to show you how you can play more expressively. Specifically, we're going to talk about how to use your understanding of the time signature of a piece to play with more musicality. I'm Dr. Kate Boyd. I'm a professional pianist and a professor of piano, and I created this channel to help pianists like you take your playing to the next level. When we start a brand new piece, the first two things we typically look at are the key signature and the time signature. We tend to think of the time signature as something that we look at once, and then we really never have to think about or worry about again. But in fact, the time signature gives you many interpretive clues that are going to help you make musical decisions in your interpretation of the piece. Describing the time signature just in terms of the number of beats per measure is simply a mathematical description. But the fact of the matter is, the time signature tells us so much more about the piece. It's going to tell us the underlying beat pattern or hierarchy of beats that's going to be governing the whole piece of music that we're about to play. And that in turn gives us clues about the character and the style and how to play it expressively and with meaning. The time signature tells us which beats are inherently strong and which are inherently weak, which is something that then we will show in performance. Within a meter, we organize the beats around the idea of some beats being strong beats and some beats being weak beats. Understanding the hierarchy of beats in any particular time signature and really learning to implement it in your playing can solve a huge number of musical problems and help you instantly play more musically and with improved phrasing. There are four basic principles to keep in mind when you're talking about strong and weak beats in meter. The first principle is the most important one and also the one that applies most universally. And that is the first beat, also known as the downbeat, is the strongest beat of the measure. And what that means is that beat is going to be a little bit louder than the other beats in the measure, regardless of the actual meter. If it's 3/4, 4/4, 6/8, 9/8, whatever, the downbeat is going to get the most emphasis. And that by definition means that the other beats are going to be less emphasized than the downbeat. I'm going to look at Bach's first invention to show you how this idea of a strong downbeat applies and how you can use it. So I'm going along. Here's the downbeat. Let's hear how we're going to emphasize that. Downbeat. All right, so always emphasize the downbeat a little bit, and that means the notes around the downbeat are going to be a little bit quieter and a little bit more shaped towards the next strong beat. The second principle applies when there's an even number of beats in the bar, and the most common example of that would be 4/4. And the principle is the beat that happens in the middle of the bar is going to be the next strongest beat after the downbeat. And so if something's in 4/4, the third beat is going to be the second strongest beat to the downbeat. So we're going to count it 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 is almost as strong as 1. And definitely beat 3 is stronger than beats 2 and 4. I'm going to show you how that second principle applies using the same invention that I was talking about a minute ago, except I'm starting in measure 3 because you can see it really clearly there. Measure 3, the downbeat's the strongest, principle 1. So downbeat, and then we're going to get quiet and lead to the third beat, and then again lead to the downbeat, to the third beat. Now, this is what it sounds like if I don't do that. This is everything equal. And to contrast, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Did you hear how I was leading to beats 1 and 3 as the two strongest beats in the measure? That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the hierarchy of beats. The third principle applies to the final beat in a measure, regardless of the time signature. But for the purposes of this discussion, I'm going to talk about 3/4 and 4/4. So in 3/4, that's the third beat, and 4/4, that's the fourth beat. It's considered to be a weak beat, but usually in music, it's going to have a leading quality because it leads into the next measure's downbeat, which, as we've already determined, is the strongest beat in the bar. So we're going to count that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So it has a feeling of leading. Now I'm going to apply that third principle to the same Bach invention, and that involves listening for how the fourth beat leads to the downbeat. 3, Some people would say that in Baroque music, the fourth beat should not lead to the downbeat because that's kind of a Romantic era invention. But I think that works really well as a default, and then you can kind of apply it differently to different pieces as you wish. The idea, though, is that the bar line is not separating the measures from each other except just visually, but that we're really using the fourth beat to go over the bar line and feel the energy go into the next downbeat, which is going to involve some shaping and a little bit of growth usually as we approach the downbeat. And then the fourth principle with regard to the beat pattern or hierarchy of beats is when there are 3 or more beats per measure, beat 2 is the weakest beat. And so what that means is that in 3/4, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. If it's in 4/4, the second beat is the weakest. And so we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So you can see every beat in a specific beat pattern has a different level of emphasis. And if you keep that up through an entire performance of a composition, that's going to help you shape your pieces. Using the same invention as an example, I'm going to show you how the second beat is the weakest beat and how we feel that in relation to the other beats. So we start off with the downbeat, which is empty. 1, 2, 3. 2 being weak allows it to lead to the third beat, which is strong. 1, 2, 3, 4, leading. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So 2 is always the weakest beat in that, and that allows us, that gives us space to lead to the strong beat. Now I'm going to show you how all of that combines to create a beat pattern or hierarchy of beats that then tells me how I'm going to shape and play this Bach invention. I'm going to play measure 1 to the downbeat of measure 7. And I'm just going to count out loud because I can't say all these words and play at the same time. Actually, brain scientists have found that it uses different parts of the brain, which is why it's difficult to speak while you're playing the piano. So I will say the numbers and you'll hear the strong beats and the weak beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And just to contrast, I will play this without those inflections, and you'll hear that it instantly sounds less musical. Using the time signature to understand the hierarchy of beats and therefore create the beat pattern for your particular piece will instantly help you be able to play more expressively and with much more understanding of why and how you're going to shape. And that translates into a more musical and assured performance to the audience, and also it makes the piece sound more logical because these composers understood the principles of the meter, the rhythm, and the beat pattern, and they composed in such a way that the most important parts that they wanted to be emphasized came on those strong beats, so that then when you're recreating that and you're emphasizing the strong beats and de-emphasizing the weak beats and leading to the strong beats, what you're doing is you're supporting the composer's vision of that piece and what they were trying to communicate. So it turns out this is kind of a magical, neat trick. All you have to do is look at the time signature, which tells you the meter, and then that'll tell you how to figure out the beat pattern. And then you have to just figure out which beats are strong and which beats are weak. Once you really have a good understanding of that overlying pattern, then you can use that to play more musically. If you're interested in rhythm and how that impacts your performance and practicing, you're going to want to check out this video right up there in the corner. That's a 2 against 3 tutorial that I made where I go step by step through the process of learning and implementing 2 against 3. Please remember to like this video, to share it, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Happy practicing.